You are watching France 24. We're going to go straight now to Istres in the southern part of France, where French President Emmanuel Macron is giving his New Year's wishes to the French army. Let's listen.
Officers of the Order of Liberations, regional prefects, President of the regional commissions, Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, Delegate General for Armaments, Secretary General of the Administration, heads of the Army, Chief of Staff, Director General of the Military Police, Director General of International Relations and International Strategy, Officers General, officers, NCOs, Navy officers, naval staff and civilian representatives of the armed forces. It is an honor for me to stand before you this morning at the start of this year as head of the armies in order to wish you a happy new year to you and your families as well as your brothers in arms. I am here to wish you a very happy new year, and I'm sorry for the way my eye looks today. It is just a small accident, but it is simply a mirror image of the eye of the tiger this early year, and let it bear witness to my determination. This year is a difficult year, as was the last. 2025 saw many military commitments take place. Many commemorations were organized, including that of the French liberation of 1944, actions in Guyana and Mayotte, defense in operations, fighting narco-trafficking, patrolling the Red Sea, the Gaza operations, supporting our allied brigades, the deployment of the aerial marine units supporting our allies in Africa, cyber space and airspace operations, and so many other commitments that marked the year. Thank you for your commitment and for your duty and sacrifice. At this start of 2026, I have mentioned the last year, and I spare a thought to our wounded and to our fallen, including Sergeant Émile Gosselin, who fell during the Harpy operation in Guyana. Sacrifice and commitment, the sacrifice of self, including one's life, is something that commands the respect of our nation. And I would like to mark our thanks to the armed forces for guaranteeing our security and the safety of our interests. This new year is one of great challenges, marked by the decisions we have taken by ourselves, by the geopolitical challenges that stand before us. This will test our credibility in more than one way. And I say this full of confidence that we stand ready. We are ready for this year that will be marked, among other things, by the 400th anniversary of our Navy. This is an important date for history, for us, and I say this in front of you, members of the Air Force. Being beside you today is also an opportunity to highlight how this decade of French rearmament is bearing its fruits. The 20th of July 2017, I stood before you in this very same place. I'm sure you remember, dear General, here at the military base in Istres. I said to you that our military budget would be reinforced with the following goal. We will stand against defeatism, as has been voiced by some, and I said that our commitment would attain 2% of GDP by 2025 in order to stand ready to threats that are standing in front of us. Some doubted us at the time. Many doubted but would not put their their words to action. But we made a promise, and we stand by that promise together today. We have held our commitment, and we did not wait for Ukraine to be invaded to start rearming or to highlight the importance of European strategic autonomy. We started in 2017 with new laws for military rearmament that were carefully prepared and ratified and stood by year after year. And I'd like to commend all the Secretary Generals who have worked with us, the heads of the Army Chief of Staff, and our elected officials who stand with us today and who have been working with us for the past year to make sure that this work comes to fruition. Here in Istres, you can see the concrete results of our decisions. A fleet of 15 Airbus planes has been delivered, as well as associated infrastructure, which work together for nuclear deterrence, allows for health evacuations up to 12,000 kilometers from our homeland, and underlined our military might. You have seen this in the treaties of last years and in the following hours and missions that will be implemented. We have a multi-operational fleet in Istres, and this base is a true military hub that allows us to broadcast our military power around the world. In Istres, we have been able to deliver new military materiel, to implement new methods, and to be able to patrol the skies. And I can give you many more examples, because since 2017, this military base has been transformed. Its face has changed, and it has become a weapon for modernized combat. Istres is a symbol. It is the very illustration of French rearmament. We will continue strengthening our efforts to defend France, as well as in other emblematic spaces. Because, as I mentioned last July, we need to accelerate France's rearmament. In order to remain free, we have to be feared. And to be feared, we have to be powerful. And to be powerful in such a ruthless world, we need to move faster and harder. This means that we need to deploy efforts that are at the height of our commitments. And so, just as I wished on the 13th of July, I wanted to speed up the goal that had been set for 2030 by reaching a goal of 70 billion euros for our defense. In 10 years, our military defense budget has been doubled. It was not doubled by one decision by this or that person or to please this or that ally. We have taken our own decisions, we have analyzed the threats, and we did this early on, and we showed a commitment never to remain passive. That is why the voting of a new military programming law states that for 2026-2030, a further 30 billion euros will be spent to speed up our rearmament starting in 2026. These added efforts, to use the jargon, this sum of 70 billion euros will highlight three main actions to accelerate our rearmament and to stand ready if we are faced with war within 3 to 4 years. We will also strengthen our military armament stock. We will support Ukraine and act in the Red Sea, and we will also reinforce in quality and quantity the state of readiness of our armed forces. We are confronted with a high-intensity war on European soil, and this has completely changed the picture when it comes to the needs of our armed forces and our operational necessities. We have identified the threats and we are acting on them. Secondly, financing will be deployed in order to guarantee our national sovereignty. First of all, to have an early alert system which combines space warning systems as well as experimental systems that are being tested. This is the DGO's initiative, and we are building this together as well as with our partners, Germany, in order to give all our European partners the upper hand. This will also allow us to further consolidate the spatial dimension of our military strategy. Above the stratosphere, we will increase our low-orbit capacity in order to increase military intelligence. Our space ambitions will also be strengthened, be it on the civilian or military front, with the goal in each area to work with our Italian and German partners, among others, to strengthen our European strategic autonomy and to decrease our dependence on everything that lies beyond the borders of this continent. Space will have a military component which we will focus on, but we want to move fast. We will also add more capacity on land as in space in order to guarantee the protection of our skies and beyond. When it comes to these added efforts for strengthening our sovereignty, we are also strengthening the work carried out with our European partners to develop efforts that go very deep. This is an initiative called ELSA. It has given the full meaning of the word since we are working to counter the Russian Ornithnik missile that was launched against Ukraine. We need to have the capacities that can rival those of our enemies. If some of you think that Russia is not something that concerns us, I need you to remain clear-sighted and understand that we are within reach of Russia's striking power. These new weapons are going to change the rules of play in the short and medium terms. With our allies in Germany and the United Kingdom, we need to strengthen our striking power. We need to strengthen our nuclear deterrence capacity as well. Another front on which we need to accelerate is our solar defense. With Ukraine, we've seen the need to move faster and faster. We have the capacity to do so, especially when it comes to our Italian and British brothers when it comes to missiles. We have a new generation of military materiel, and what we have to offer is the best in the world. It is more efficient than the Patriot missile system. We need to move faster. We need to deploy more. We need to strengthen our strategic autonomy and the capacity of Europe to help others. We need to reduce our reliance on others. We need to furnish ourselves with the necessary tools. We need to work with our European allies. All of this is absolutely necessary, and we need to move fast. Our army has to be able to deploy fast and quickly. This third goal relies on various forms of action. We need to strengthen the protection of our forces when it comes to air-sky defense systems. We are faced with ever-greating competition. We need to modernize our army with all types of drones for all the three different sections of our armed forces. We have seen how things have played out on the Ukrainian theater of war, and we must state this clearly, we are late because Ukraine has been able to innovate And our allies have been able to move faster, and we perhaps were caught unawares. On European soil, we have seen others working faster than us, so we need to react quickly and strongly. When it comes to quantum technologies, artificial intelligence, we are moving forward fast, and we are modernizing our combat and transport forces. This speeding up includes the following things for the period of the next 5 years. We will contribute over 2 billion euros for the National Armed Service. Our recruitment campaign has been launched this week. And next September, the first recruits for the national services will strengthen the ranks of our fighters and strengthen the resilience of our nation. This decision was announced just a few weeks ago in Vars, and this is a vital step forward for our nation. It strengthens our defense pact, which is at the heart of our republic. It gives the means to our army to have the necessary skills that it needs in this day and age. And it will also allow to face the challenges when it comes to our reserve forces. It also allows our youth who want to serve to do so. I know I can count on our youth. I know that they will stand ready when they are asked to. We have high ideals. We know that the cause we fight for is noble. It is the cause of our homeland, that of France. I know I can count on you, the professional army, to fulfill this mission. Our conscripts and our professionals are essential. The success of our national service is essential. Thank you, Minister, for launching this initiative and for all of you to helping make this a reality. As head of the armed forces, I attach great importance to those who have chosen to sacrifice up to their very lives. The nation is grateful to those who have fallen. Our armed forces is mainly based on the competences of men and women who have been deployed and who have served our country. We have carried out assessments through specific commissions, and the president of this commission has, for the past 9 years, improved what has to be done. And that is why I personally made sure that our non-commissioned officers, as well as our officers, have increased remuneration, and that is why the family agendas, the 3060 program have been set up, and they all work to go in the right direction. Thank you, ministers, and I implore you to strengthen measures for our wounded, especially those who suffer from psychological problems. And I will expect by the 30th of July to receive a report on these issues. So, at the beginning of this year, I wanted to share with you how our military laws will be implemented. But at this place and in this moment, let me tell you a few words about the current context and what this means for us. History will not forgive weakness or lack of preparation. Our armed forces, each and every one of them, all of our support forces, are our life insurance, and nuclear deterrence is something that I will also speak about soon. All these efforts that I've mentioned, all these things that will continue to build upon, allow us to contribute and to stand to meet the threats ahead. And I know that I can count on all the ministers and elected officials so that the modernization of the military spending law may be adopted before Bastille Day of this year. And so in this regard, I would like to highlight all the work of preparation that was done in 2025 under my orders by the General Secretariat for Defense and National Security, which modernized our national strategic review, by all the military players who prepared the new draft bill and the project for the new national service. But what is happening today? From 2017-2018, we assessed the current state of threat. The state of the world bears new threats, and it justifies the new efforts that are being deployed. We have reinforced our efforts, and that is why we doubled our military spending budget. For the past 9 years, we ceaselessly stated that we needed to strengthen European strategic autonomy, and to do so for our armed forces. First, we worked alone, but loneliness should not make us doubt ourselves. And look what has happened in the past years. All of those who said that the French idea of strategic autonomy, or that we should rely on NATO, well, the Ukraine aggression by Russia was a wake-up call. Strategic autonomy, as stated in Versailles, was embodied in a declaration of the European Union. And 3 years later, in March 2025, a European Commission recognized the European defense pillar, and financing that was voted by Europe to support our military efforts. This was a French conviction, seeing how the threat has evolved, and it has now become clear to the whole of Europe. We were right to start fighting alone and to keep fighting. We have done this year after year. Every time we have been confronted with threats, we have been solidly committed at sea with our allies, be they Serbian or Croatian, when it comes to the air force. So we have reconciled what we thought was not to be reconcilable. We have worked ceaselessly. 2025 was an important year, and a Europe of defense has become a reality. And within this Europe of defense, this is an intergovernmental program, but it is based on European resources and a preference for Europe that we fought for and is now operational. France is one of the few credible main powers in the world, and this is a historical moment that has taken shape these last few years, and we need to consolidate our efforts. Look at the world that we are faced with today. Russia is destabilizing things on the European theater. Regional powers are doing the same. You can think of Iran and others. And we also hear the discourse of some of our allies who are casting doubt on our alliances. There is a new colonialism that is taking flesh among some. This all forces us to strengthen our model and to strengthen our independence in all its shapes and forms. Operationally, we need to accelerate our strategic imperatives. This has to be done in Europe, as I stated. And last week, there was a turning point. A meeting took place of the Coalition of the Willing for Ukraine. No one thought that once peace was signed, Europe would be able to defend the European sky or to face up to the Russian threat. But what have we done in the last year? The coalition of the willing would bring together Europeans. And I'd also like to commend non-EU European allies, Canadians, the British, Norwegians, Iceland and others like Japan. This coalition of the willing brings together 34 states.
Elle assure la totalité de l'effort de soutien
And this coalition assures all of Ukraine's defense capacity today. Everything that Ukraine relies on today is based on our coalition of the willing. Of course, there are weaknesses. Some people cast doubt. But Ukraine was so dependent on American military intelligence. And this was just a year ago. And yet, today, 2/3 of this intelligence is provided by France. But above all, we have guaranteed security for the day after peace, and we are credible. We will monitor the ceasefire line. We will modernize the Ukrainian army. We will assure their security. And we have worked to consolidate all of these components, working with all the members of the coalition of the willing, including ourselves. For the first time in history, we have a French-British integrated command structure with operational staff at Mont-Valérien. We've worked with our allies and partners, including the Americans, in those fields where they are ready to work together. We have a mission that has been consolidated at the Paris Declaration a few days ago. This is a historical moment. This gives credibility to what a Europe of defense can be, and it gives credibility to what France and Britain can do as the founding members of these new efforts. And the signal that is sent to our Ukrainian allies and to other Europeans and allies around the world is that we are ready. We are ready to continue fighting, to resist. We are ready to deter against new aggressions or to maintain peace on our territory. This will is something that we have to show everywhere. We are a power for stability, and it is the same will which underlies our decisions in the Middle East. In the Middle East, there are important deployments that have been taken together with our allies, be it in Jordan or in Iraq. We are deployed there. We are trustworthy allies who will protect, who will work with our main allies. We will consolidate our presence in the region, including in the United Arab Emirates. We have exceptional strategic alliances. We have many new partners with the private sector, with the United Arab Emirates, with Jordan, with Qatar, with Saudi Arabia. We are present in Finland. We guarantee with the US peace and security in southern Italy. And in the last few hours, we have shown that we are a faithful partner for stability for all countries in the region. Faced with the current revolution in Iran, to the terrifying attacks against their own citizens, France has called for a ceasefire to stop these horrific attacks against the civilian population that has to be defended. And we need to fight escalation in the region. And that is why we strengthened our position. We have decided to protect our citizens and our fighters, and we stand with our partners in order to contribute to peace and stability in the whole region, given the current context. This belief in stability, security, and responsibility is also what underpins our actions in Africa. We have reorganized our presence there in the last years. And this reorganization means we need to have a partnership of equals in order to work with governments and armed forces that have stated their needs. And we help them in training, in equipment, in a specific framework that has been well defined, better than before, And they have
Et
stated
nous
what
avons
they need
été
from
présents
France.
à chaque fois que nous avons
And
été
we have
convoqués.
always stood ready every
Et nous
time we were
sommes
called upon
de
to do so.
manière partenariale,
We are good partners.
adaptée à la demande,
We
respectueuse
are up
pleinement
to the
de la
needs,
souveraineté.
and we respect other countries'
La
sovereignty.
France, vous le voyez,
France,
partout,
as you can see,
on pourrait aller plus loin en convoquant ici notre stratégie Indo-Pacifique
and I
qui
could give you
répond au même
many
objectif.
other examples,
Grâce à
including
nos
to the
armées,
Indo-Pacific
grâce à la cohérence de notre stratégie,
partnerships.
nous
Thanks to
sommes
our
une
allies,
puissance
thanks to our
crédible
coherent
de
and consistent
stabilité
strategies,
en
we
Europe,
are
en
a
Afrique, en
fighter for
Indo-Pacifique. Nous
stability
sommes
in
partout,
Europe,
nous
in
avons
Africa, and in
des
the
territoires engagés
Indo-Pacific
partout où la paix
area.
est menacée, et
We
nous
are
le sommes en
present
étant
everywhere where
crédibles,
peace is threatened, and
fiable
we remain
et lisible.
credible, dependable,
Et c'est une qualité rare
and clear.
dans le monde qui est le
And
nôtre.
this is a rare quality in this day and age.
C'est pourquoi,
That is
pour évoquer
precisely
l'actualité plus
why
récente,
I would like to mention what has recently
la France et
happened.
les Européens doivent continuer
France and Europe must continue
partout
to
où
work
leurs intérêts sont
steadfast
menacés,
everywhere where
d'être
their
là sans
interests
escalade,
are
mais intraitable
threatened,
sur le respect
not to give in
souveraineté
to escalation, but also to
J'évoquais
defend
l'Ukraine.
our territorial integrity. I
Groenland,
mentioned
territoire
Ukraine,
autonome
but I
du
can
Royaume de
also
Danemark.
mention Greenland, which is
Les
a
Européens ont une
autonomous
responsabilité
but integral part of
car
the
ce
Danish kingdom.
territoire
This is
appartient
the
à l'Union
territory
européenne,
that is
car ce
important for
territoire est
Europe
aussi celui d'un
because
de
it
nos
is
alliés
part
de
of the
l'OTAN.
EU. It is also
La
part
France a
of
décidé de se
one of our
joindre
NATO allies. France has
à
decided
l'exercice qui a été
to
programmé et
join
lancé par le
military
Danemark de
exercises
manière
deployed
souveraine
by Denmark
et indépendante
as a
dans le
sovereign
cadre d'Arctic
member
Endurance.
under
Une
the
première équipe de
endurance
militaires
law.
français est déjà sur
A
place
first French
et
team is
sera
already on the
renforcée
ground
dans les
and will be
prochains jours
strengthened in
par
the
des
following
moyens
days
terrestres,
by
aériens et
new
maritimes. Et je remercie
land,
le Sénat
marine
d'avoir
deployment forces.
rapidement,
And I'd like to
au
thank the
contact
Senate
de son partenaire danois,
for working
organisé les
with
choses
their Danish
et
counterparts
sur répondre présent aux
organising
demandes très concrètes qui étaient formulées.
these efforts.
C'est le rôle que la France doit jouer, celui
This is
d'être
the role that France
disponible
has to play.
face
We
à
have to be
l'évaluation
there.
de la menace, de savoir
We have to
s'adapter
adapt to the
et
threats.
d'être aux côtés d'un État souverain pour
And we
protéger
have to
son
be able to help sovereign states that are allies in
L'Europe
order
de
to
la
protect their
défense, vous le voyez
territories.
bien, est une
A
réalité.
Europe of defense is
C'est
a
une réalité
reality.
qui repose
It is a
sur,
reality that is
en même
based
temps, les choix souverains
on the sovereign choices
faits par
that have
chaque
been
nation
made
qui la
by
compose.
each
et ses
member state that
capacités
is part
propres
of
de
this alliance.
décider pour elle-même et par elle-même.
We need to have the
Ce qu'a la
capacity to
France grâce à
decide
son modèle complet
for
d'armée.
ourselves.
Et parce que nous avons décidé
is
de
a
faire
choice
ces efforts
France
que
has made.
j'évoquais et que nous avons aujourd'hui l'armée la plus efficace
We
d'Europe.
have the most efficient
C'était
army
le
in
but
Europe,
poursuivi
and this
ces
was the
dernières
goal
années
that we've
que
been
nous
following for the last few
continuerons
years, and we
de
continue
poursuivre.
to follow this goal.
Nous devons continuer
We
à le
need
décliner aussi
to
sur le plan
continue
capacitaire
to strengthen our
avec cette préférence
capacities
européenne
with a clear preference for
pour
Europe
l'industrie de défense.
when it comes
Je
to
le disais,
the defense industry.
la France l'a
I've
constamment
already told you,
plaidé. Nous l'avons inscrit dans les textes européens
we have voted new
et des
European
programmes
laws.
dits EDIP, ASAFE et pardon de ces acronymes. Nous avons
Different programs
réussi
like
à
EDIP and
inscrire ce qui
ASAFE
était là aussi
have helped
impensable
us
il y a
move
quelques
forward
années, le
and
fait
to do
que
things
ces
that were
programmes de
unthinkable just a few
financement
years ago.
européens devaient
These
imposer
European
de
programs
l'achat européen.
means Europe has to
Ceci
buy
suppose aussi
in
que nous
Europe.
soyons en capacité, nous Européens,
This
de
also
fournir une
means
offre
that
crédible.
Europe has to have the
Et donc c'est
capacity
une
to
exigence pour
have
nous tous
a credible
d'être en
supply.
capacité de réponse aux
We have to
besoins,
be
de
able to
répondre
meet
aujourd'hui
the
aux besoins
needs
des
of the
Ukrainiens,
threat, to help
demain à
our
nos
Ukrainian
besoins.
allies.
Et il faut veiller
And
aujourd'hui
to
au
be able to
paradoxe
support
dans
our
lequel
own
on
needs
peut se
tomorrow.
retrouver.
We need to
Beaucoup
be
de
ready
nations sont
for all
en train
scenarios.
d'investir massivement,
Many countries
plus
are
tard
now
que nous,
investing
parfois plus
massively.
massivement, pour rattraper un retard. Et en le faisant dans l'urgence,
But
elles se tournent vers les capacités disponibles.
in this state of
Le risque, c'est
emergency,
qu'elles se tournent
we
par
need
trop
to
vers des capacités
turn
non européennes. Nous devons les convaincre
to
d'acheter européen. Nous devons les convaincre avec nous de
new
produire européen.
providers. But we
Nous
need
devons
to
donc plus
encourage
vite innover en
actors to
européen.
invest in
Mais nous
Europe, to
devons
buy
nous
in
mettre
Europe. We need to
en
innovate in
capacité
Europe,
de
and we need
répondre à ces
to
demandes
be
en européen.
able to
Un énorme
meet
travail a été fait ces
European
dernières
defense
années par
needs.
les ministres
Huge
successifs
efforts have
des
been
armées,
made by
chefs
the
d'état-major
various
et,
military ministers, the
DGA, et
heads
je
of
salue le
Army
rôle
Chief of
et le rôle
Staff,
d'aiguillon de la DGA.
and
On a
I
beaucoup parlé
would like to
d'économie de guerre.
commend
J'ai
the
moi-même,
various
dès
actions taken.
fin de l'hiver 2022, lancé cela. Beaucoup d'efforts ont été faits.
We started in
les
the
ai
winter of
salués.
2022. Many
Nous
efforts have been
avons
deployed.
doublé, parfois triplé nos capacités de
We have
production,
doubled,
nos
even
rythmes de
tripled
production.
Our
Soyons francs
production
avec nous-mêmes.
capacity.
Est-ce que nous sommes en
Let's
économie
be
de guerre à
honest.
proprement parler? La réponse est non.
Are we in a situation of war economy?
Parce que si nous étions
The
en
answer
guerre,
is no.
j'ose espérer que nous ne produirions pas ainsi.
If there were war, I hope that we would be able to finance faster. Just look at our Ukrainian friends.
La pression des événements de la même manière. Mais là aussi,
of course, the threat of the current events is not the same as that faced by Ukraine.
Ce que nous sommes en train de faire,
but we must stand ready.
Je salue ici toutes nos
the threat is
entreprises de
here.
la défense
I'd like to commend all our defense
leur montée en cadence et contribuent à l'effort de la
industry who have contributed to strengthen our capacity.
Pour ces vœux parce que le lien est organique avec nos armées.
I'm happy that they are with us today. We have an organic partnership between the private sector and the armies.
Mais ce lien est fort.
This is a strong relationship.
Nécessaire et c'est aussi une force de notre pays.
It is essential.
Et donc,
and it is one of the strengths of our nation.
Saluer l'ensemble des
I'd like to
industriels
commend
les
all
collaboratrices et
of
collaborateurs.
the private sector and all our partners.
Saluant tout ce qui a été fait ces derniers temps.
Thank you. Thank you for everything that's been done these last years.
Où la France
we have worked together
promeut son industrie de
in
défense
order
et
to
l'exporte.
promote
Et nous avons eu
our
des
defense
magnifiques
industry.
succès
We
ces
have
dernières années
exported
ensemble,
and
y compris
we've
dans des géographies que d'aucuns pensaient impossibles.
managed to achieve much in the last few years, and we will continue to achieve a lot through our defense industry.
Je veux, en ce début d'année 2026, vous demander
In the
encore
beginning of
davantage.
2026, I want to call
Nous
on
avons
for
besoin
more.
de produire
We need
plus vite,
to produce
de
faster.
produire
We
en
need
volume,
to produce
de
in
massifier
quantities,
encore
large
davantage,
quantities, by
avec des
ramping up
systèmes
scale,
plus légers
with
et de
lighter
façon
systems,
innovante.
with
On ne
innovative
nous attend
systems.
Et je vous le dis, quand on a des délais qui sont de
And
5-7
when
ans
we
pour
are
des
talking
capacités
about 5
nouvelles,
to 7
c'est
years frameworks
clair et
for
net.
new
On
capabilities,
est en
it
train
is
de se
absolutely
faire
clear
sortir du marché.
we are
Je vous le
being
dis.
wiped out of the
Et ne vous
market.
trompez pas, vos clients d'hier sont
And
vos
don't
compétiteurs
get me
d'aujourd'hui.
wrong,
On
your
est en train de
clients
le
of
voir.
the
Et
past
ils
are clients of today and
avancent
the
à marche
future.
forcée.
And
Parce
they
que
are
partout dans
pushing
le
ahead
monde,
because
ils investissent.
everywhere around the world we are seeing investment.
Et des très grands pays qui ont
Large
été nos
nations
clients jusqu'à récemment,
who used to be our
qui
clients
sont les
until very
clients
recently,
d'autres de nos
or
compétiteurs,
who are now
se dotent
clients
de leurs
of
propres
some of our
capacités.
competitors, they are taking on their
Il
own
n'y a pas de marché
capabilities.
garanti. Il n'y a pas de
There
chasse
is no
gardée. Il y a
guaranteed
une
market.
compétition
There is
féroce
nothing
qui nous
surefire
impose d'être
in this
nous
world.
beaucoup
We
plus
have to be
volontaristes. Et
more
donc pour les armées
proactive.
françaises,
And for the
j'ai
French
besoin d'une
armed
industrie
forces,
de
what I
défense
need
qui
is a
s'adapte
defense
davantage,
industry,
qui ne considère
one
plus que les
which
armées
is
françaises
more
sont des clients
proactive,
captifs.
one which
Parce que
doesn't
nous
believe that
irons
the French
peut-être
armed
chercher des
forces
solutions
are
européennes si elles
just
sont plus
captive
rapides et
clients.
plus efficaces.
We need to be
Et j'ai
faster and
besoin
more effective.
d'industriels de
What I need
défense
is
qui
a
regardent aussi
French
la
defense
concurrence de
industry
manière plus
that looks at
lucide
competitors
et à qui je
with
dis
a very
allez
clear
plus
mind.
vite, allez plus fort,
And I want to say
produisez
to
en
you,
masse,
do things
produisez
faster,
plus
produce
léger,
faster,
répondez
produce
aux demandes.
more.
Et j'ai
Meet
des
the
industriels de
demand.
défense à qui je veux dire, je serai toujours avec nos armées à vos
And
côtés.
I will always be on the
Mais
side
nous
of our
aussi,
armed
nous devons
forces,
être plus
but
européens.
we need to
Et
be
donc nous devons
more
être plus
European
européens dans nos propres achats,
in
nous
the
devons
way
être
we
plus
procure,
européens dans nos stratégies
in the
industrielles,
way
en
we
bâtissant ces
draft
partenariats.
industrial
Le
strategy
santé
through
nouvelle
partnerships.
génération est un très bon exemple. JWEL, c'est un autre très
GA
bon
Wells
exemple.
is just one fine
L'initiative ELSA
example.
pour le tir
The
en profondeur, je
ELSA
l'espère,
initiative
précède des
is
partenariats
a fine
industriels qui
initiative,
iront
and
dans ce
hopefully it
sens.
will lead into more
C'est la
industrial
même chose que
partnerships.
je veux aussi dans le spatial.
I want to see the same
Nous
in the
consolidons
space
en
sector,
européen avec l'opération dite Bromo,
making
mais
European,
nous
buying
devons aussi
European.
bâtir des vraies
But we
constellations
need to
européennes,
make sure
le
that we
faire
can
peut-être
operate
plus vite
within
et
a
plus
true
fort que ce qui
European
était prévu, de manière
ecosystem
plus véloce, plus
by
légère.
doing things faster, lighter.
On a un devoir tous ensemble,
We have one fundamental duty.
ne pas attendre.
Do not wait.
On a un devoir, être lucide sur
We
la
have to be
compétition dans
clear-minded
laquelle nous
as to
sommes
what the
plongés.
competition is
Et nous adapter
capable of
à
doing.
chaque instant.
And we need to adapt
Tout cela, on doit le faire en
whenever
étant
and wherever
compétitif,
possible.
efficace,
That will make us more
et en
competitive,
continuant,
more
comme on l'a
efficient.
fait ces dernières années,
And as
grâce
we've
à
done over these
l'engagement de nos
past few
industriels,
years, by in working
en
with
continuant
industrial
de
partners,
dérisquer notre
by
industrie
removing the
face
risk
à
from
tous
our
les risques, ou à
industry,
toutes les dépendances que nous avons sur des composants,
by
des terres
no
rares
longer
ou autres.
being
Et rappelez-vous,
as reliant
dès la
on others
pandémie, au
as
début
we
de
have
la
been in
guerre,
the
quand on
past
a
for
vu
rare
qu'on avait
earths,
des
for example. Think about
dépendances,
in the past where we were
il y a eu
highly
une
dependent
mobilisation de nos
on other
industriels
nations,
à juste
and our
titre
industrial
pour consolider la filière ou sauver des acteurs dont
companies
on avait besoin
worked
en
together
amont. C'est
to make sure that
exactement ça
we
qu'on doit
could
continuer de
find the
faire
supply chains
pour
necessary
réduire nos
for what we
dépendances dans
needed.
toutes les
This is what I
capacités.
mean when I'm talking
Et je
about
voulais
reducing
là-dessus insister
dependency
sur ce
on
point.
others.
L'Europe de la défense, nous devons pleinement
Europe
l'habiter,
of
nous devons en
defense
saisir
is
les
something that we
opportunités,
need to
y
seize.
compris en matière d'innovation,
Every single
y
opportunity
compris
when
en
we're talking
matière de
about innovation,
production
when we're talking about production,
et de déploiement.
and also in terms
Je
of
sais votre
deployment.
détermination, votre loyauté
Through
et
your
votre
determination,
courage.
your loyalty, and your
Et au fond,
courage, your
pour
bravery.
conclure mon propos, ce que je suis venu
We
vous
will
dire en ce
prevail.
début d'année
And let me
2026,
finish on
et
just one final
je le
remark
disais dans un
as
esprit
we enter into
similaire
2026.
aux ambassadrices, aux ambassadeurs
And
devant
this is what
lesquels
I
je
said to
m'exprime
the
il y a
diplomatic
quelques jours.
forces just a few
Nous
days
sommes dans
ago.
un monde de plus en plus complexe.
The world
On
we
n'a pas
live in
découvert
is one which
hier.
is more and more complex, but this is
Nous
nothing
sommes
new.
dans un monde où des puissances
We live in a world
de déstabilisation se sont
where
réveillées.
the
On l'a vu
powers
ces
of
dernières années.
destabilization are
La
rearing their
différence, c'est
heads.
que nous voyons que des certitudes qui parfois
What
avaient des décennies
used to be certainty
sont remises en cause.
for the past decades
Et
are now no
l'Europe
longer
est bousculée dans
certain.
certaines de ces certitudes.
And we are also
Et
being
elle a des
challenged
compétiteurs qu'elle ne
in
pensait
our
pas
own
voir.
preconceived
Et elle a
ideas.
parfois des
Nothing
alliés
is certain
qu'on pensait
sometimes.
prévisibles,
Allies who we saw as being very
impavibles,
foreseeable,
toujours à nos côtés,
always by our
se mettent à
side,
faire douter beaucoup, voire
steadfast,
qui se retournent vers ceux qui
and now
doutaient le moins.
sources of great doubt.
La
They've now become
France
the least
a une
stable,
grande
least foreseeable.
tradition d'indépendance.
France has long
Nous l'avons
fought
renforcée
for
ces dernières années parce que
independence.
ça ne sert à rien de
This
parler
is something that we
d'indépendance
have
si c'est
built
pour n'en tirer
upon over the past
aucune
few
conséquence.
years.
Nous avons renforcé notre
We have
indépendance
strengthened and
militaire,
bolstered
capacitaire,
our
technologique,
independence,
industrielle.
be it in
Nous
terms
devons
of
aller
industry,
au bout
military
de
capabilities,
ce travail complètement.
defense.
Nous
We need
devons
to continue
accélérer
pushing
cette
forward. We need
obsession. Et nous
to
devons,
move faster
à la
towards
lumière des
greater
événements,
independence.
finir de convaincre
And in
tous les
light
Européens de
of what we're
s'engager à nos
currently living in,
côtés dans ce travail.
we need to ensure
Mais
that
face
other
à ce
European
monde
nations are on
complexe,
our
beaucoup
side.
de certitudes sont remises en cause.
A lot
Ne
of
doutez
what
pas.
was certain is no longer
Soyez
certain.
fiers.
But
Soyez
be
fiers de
proud.
votre pays,
Be
de nos
proud of your
armées.
nation, of your
Parce que
armed
cette
forces.
fierté est légitime.
Because that pride is
Nous sommes l'armée la
legitimate.
plus efficace
We are
d'Europe.
the most
Nous avons
effective
la
armed
dissuasion
forces
nucléaire la
of
plus
Europe. We have
indépendante
the
et
most
autonome d'Europe.
independent nuclear deterrence in
C'est
all
une
of Europe.
force inédite
That is
dans le monde qui est le nôtre.
Unheard
Soyez
of
fiers.
power, which is on our
Soyez
side. So be
convaincus.
proud of that.
Que vous avez en main tout ce qu'il faut pour réussir,
Believe
pour
that you
tenir
have
notre pays
everything you
indépendant
need to succeed,
face à tous les
to
risques
fight
qui
for an
s'éveillent.
independent nation, to fight against all those who are watching.
Mais nous, Français, nous ne sommes
But
pas
we,
les spectateurs ou les
We, the
commentateurs
French,
du monde.
we are not spectators, we are not
Nous
commentators
devons être
of
à
what is
chaque
happening in the
instant
world. At
déterminés.
every single
Nous sommes là
point
pour
in
agir,
history, we need to
agir
be
pour prendre
determined,
l'initiative, pour
ready
nous
to take
protéger,
action,
pour
to
produire ce
act,
qu'il
to
faut pour cela,
protect,
pour
to
redéployer
do
de
what is
nouvelles
necessary,
capacités,
to
agir
unroll
dans l'immédiat
new
pour
capabilities,
protéger
to
et
take
aider tous
immediate
nos
action,
alliés
to
lorsqu'ils
protect
sont
all
menacés,
of our
agir
allies when they are
pour
under
être des
threat.
acteurs de
We need to
stabilité
act
partout
to
où nous
ensure
sommes
stability
engagés.
wherever
Alors en
we
ce
are
début d'année,
engaged.
soyez
So as we begin
déterminés
this new
et
year,
soyez
be
en
determined,
action,
be
à
steadfast,
l'offensive,
take action,
au service de
lead,
la stabilité et de la
fight
paix.
for stability, fight for
Soyez
peace.
fiers, soyez déterminés,
proud,
ne
Be
subissez
determined,
jamais
never
et avancez.
give in,
Parce que nous
and
avons
move forward,
tout pour cela,
head
pour le
high.
faire.
Because we have
Parce que
everything we
c'est exactement
possibly
l'histoire
need
de
to be
notre
able to
pays.
do so.
Parce que nous avons cette force,
And as
parce que
French,
nous
we have that
continuons
strength,
de l'avoir.
and we will continue
Vous l'avez
to do
compris,
so.
en ce début d'année, mes vœux sont des vœux
As
pour
we
vous,
begin
vos familles,
2026,
vos
my
frères
wishes are
d'armes,
for you,
mais ce
your
sont des
families,
vœux
your brothers in arms,
de
but my
détermination,
wishes for the new year are for
d'engagement.
you to be determined,
de volonté.
to be truly committed, and
Ne
truly
lâchez
willing.
rien et continuez.
Do not give up.
J'ai confiance en vous. Et je veux en
I
ce
have
début
great
d'année
faith in you.
vous redire ma fierté d'être là
And allow
face à
me
vous,
just to reiterate
la
how
fierté
proud
de
I am
l'engagement
of
qui est
you,
le vôtre,
of your
car c'est ce qui tient
pledge,
nos armées chaque jour.
what I see day in, day out.
C'est aussi la dette de la nation à votre endroit.
The French nation
Soyez fiers.
is indebted to you.
Soyez là
Be proud of that,
et avançons.
be present.
Vive la République
forward.
et vive la France.
Long live the French Republic, long live France.